Hey guys, Kate here, and today I'm going to be telling you about the 2 worst jobs I ever had. So the first job that I ever had, I worked at a cafe that was also a bakery. So this was probably about maybe 6 years ago when I got my first job. I can't remember, it's been so long. My dad got me this job through his boss that he worked for, who also owned this cafe. So he told him that I was looking for a job, and they asked me to come in for an interview, and I basically got the job on the spot, which I was really excited about. I was like, oh, that wasn't so hard. Like, I basically just got the job. When I started the next week, I was really excited. I thought it was going to be a really good experience. And, I was really trying hard. I wanted this job to work out. But, as you may have guessed, it was not what I expected at all. One of the biggest problems that I had with this job was they did not train me at all. If you guys don't know, I have ADD, which is attention deficit disorder. And I have a lot of problem with memory and multitasking, any kind of multi-step, verbal instruction-based things I have a problem with sometimes. I remember this one instance. I was supposed to come in for 5 hours. Five hours. I misread the schedule because I have trouble reading tables. And there's a name on each box, and you follow it down to see what your hours are. Well, I misread it and thought that I wasn't supposed to be working that day. So I was hanging out with a friend for like 3 hours of the 5 that I was supposed to be working. Boss tried to call me, and I didn't recognize his number. I didn't answer it. So then my mom calls me, and she's like freaking out. She's like, "Where are you? You're supposed to be at work." I was like, "No, I'm not. I checked the schedule like twice. Like, I'm not supposed to work today. That's why I was hanging out with a friend." All these calls were happening while I was hanging out with the friend. So this was kind of embarrassing. After that, I ended up going to the cafe just to clear it up with my boss and my manager. My friend parks my car and then comes in and waits for me while I go talk to the manager. And I found out that my boss, the owner, was actually filling in for me that day, that morning. So he left. He didn't say anything, but he just left. And she was like so mad at me, like livid. I kid you not, like she screamed at me to get my apron on and start working like right then and there. And I was like, what the heck is going on? Like, I'm not supposed to work today. I'm starting to like break down because she is like so mad at me, and this is my first job. And this was like a couple of weeks after I even got the job. I did not have the intention of missing work. I wasn't purposefully trying to miss work. So I grabbed my apron and I worked the rest of the time that I'm supposed to be there. And even though like I worked the last 2 hours I was supposed to work, she makes me stay longer while my friend is waiting for me. I was so sad and mad at the same time. I was in the back working and just crying because I was not trying to skip work. Like, I really wanted to do good, make my dad proud and everything. And I was just so sad. Like, I was bawling in front of customers. So that was just one instance that happened. We also had a guy that worked there that I really didn't get along with, and I could not stand him. We were working a morning together. I was like physically hurting. I'm kind of an overweight person. Any job where I'm like constantly lifting stuff and running around, I can't do a lot of that stuff because my back starts to hurt and whatever. So I had been working all morning with him, and he was making me do literally everything. So I was like in so much pain that I started to cry. And he was like, "What's the matter? You can't handle it?" He like proceeds to try and fight me on this because I'm physically in pain trying to organize the trays and stuff. I'm just like, dude, seriously, like, shut up. I don't need this right now. And he's still like mocking me. Eventually, he did go get a job somewhere else, thank God, because I I don't want to say hate, but I really didn't like him, and it was just kind of a bad experience there. This other time, I remember we were super busy. We were super busy like during a lunch rush, and they put me on cash register. And I had no idea how to work a cash register. This is my first job. I end up breaking the cash register in the middle of a lunch rush, and they're trying to fix it while I'm just like, I don't know what to do, and I'm just kind of standing there waiting for them to fix it. And I try to like just go back on dishes because I don't want to make things worse. And I felt the heat coming off of my manager when that happened. It's almost like she thought I was intentionally trying to break stuff and do everything wrong. But I wasn't being trained. It was just like an on-the-spot, you gotta learn how to do this right now type of thing. So anytime we got a call on the phone, which I am horrible at, or doing cash register, I would try to get someone else to do it because I wasn't comfortable doing it. So I would try to like stay on dishes or cook the sandwiches and stuff, which is like our main dish and stuff. But the manager was just always so mean and like pushing me around and like stealing money from the tip jar. So this one other experience that I remember, I was sweeping floors. It was during lunch, and this guy and his, I guess, wife were sitting at this table inside, and they had a bunch of crumbs and stuff, like a bunch of uneaten food underneath their table. So I was like, oh, that's really nasty. Like, I wouldn't want that under my feet while I'm eating. I proceeded to sweep up the food underneath their table. And the guy looks at me and he's just like, can you do this later? Do you have to sweep right now? And in my head, I was just thinking, okay, you want to sit in filth? Go right ahead. Like, some people were understanding, some people were super rude, but here's where the discrimination comes in. I have ADD, and it affects my ability to be speedy with things and remember things. During another lunch rush one day, I mentioned to my manager when I was really stressed out that I had ADD. I straight up told her, I was just like, I'm sorry, I have trouble remembering the orders because I have ADD. And she just kind of looked at me for a second. And I had never addressed this to her, like during the interview or anything, because I don't really think you should do it like that unless it comes up. 2 weeks later, she pulls me aside during work, and she's like, I don't think this is working out. We just don't think this is a good fit for you. She said something along the lines of, you know, you mentioned that you have ADD and you have trouble remembering things. Isn't really the right job for you. I was trying to hold it together so hard. So do I finish working today or what? And she was like, I think you need to go. And I was like getting ready to burst into tears. Put my apron up, I clocked out, and I walked out of the restaurant and just started crying. So looking on it now, I really think that I was discriminated against for my disorder. At the time, I was not sure, what to do about it, and I never really told my parents about it until later, but that's what she said to me. And they basically told me that is discrimination. But you know what? I didn't like that job anyway. Glad I don't work there anymore. I don't know. My second job experience was at my university. I had found a job with the campus newspaper because at the time I was in graphic design. So I tried to get into the campus paper to do logo and graphic design for them. I was very, very uncomfortable and stressed about this job. And by the way, this was a student job. Like, my boss there, he was equally as harsh on people as my other manager from the cafe. I actually watched someone get fired right in front of me, and it was very intimidating. I was always on edge at this job because I was like, if I slip up once, like if I forget once, because we have like customers that are paying for this, and if there's like a typo or something's not formatted correctly, or they can't print the paper because of something that I did, then I'm in big trouble. My boss was like a ticking time bomb. Like he would cuss people out. He would like point out everything they were doing wrong as a joke. I kid you not, the guy that got fired, he had only been working for like a week and then got fired. And it was explosive. He got so mad. He was like, you know what, dude, why don't you take a walk? Like, wouldn't you be so intimidated if somebody just like came up to you and said you're fired like that? And he never came back. I mean, he was really fired. And it was right in front of me while I'm working. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, I hope I don't mess up so I don't get fired. What ended up happening with that job, I actually got let go from that job as well, but not for the reasons of my first job. The university was actually losing a lot of money from that department, so they decided to cut some of the student workers. So I just kind of left that job and ended up staying with DSS, which is Disability Support Services, where I work now. And I actually changed my major to rehabilitation instead of graphic design because I enjoy helping people and I feel like it's better suited for me. So that just kind of worked out for me. So that's about all I got for you guys today. Happy belated Valentine's Day. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.